Her Cheating Heart, from Spine Tingler magazine, summer 2008. The door was open. The lights were off. There was music playing. Soft. I walked inside, announced my presence. 5 minutes early. The open door worried me. The country music didn't help. I'd walked out on Roz for this. All the usual arguments. Accusations of me losing myself in the world of clients, knowing they am better than the woman I loved. Did I cut out on her for the job, or because I knew she was right? Mr. Williams. I stopped at the stairs that led to the second level of the house. The music, soulful, cracked vocals and melancholic guitar, came from the rear on ground level. Mr. Williams. In the living room where the music played, the only light came from outside, illuminating the room just enough so that I could see my client, Mr. Williams, sitting in an armchair by the fireplace, drinking from a crystal whiskey glass and slumped like jelly. The first time I met him, he'd worn a well-pressed wool suit, white shirt and dark tie. His hair, thinning, was carefully combed. He walked tall, all confidence, until he talked about his wife, the things he suspected, the things he feared. Seeing him slumped in the chair, some sad sack alcoholic catastrophe made the hairs on my arms dance as though a cold breeze had just blown across them. He turned his head. From the distance of a few feet I could smell the booze. Light a match, you'd burn the bastard down. "Oh aye," he said, laughing the laugh of a condemned man. "Mr. Bryson, you're early." I stepped forward, took the glass from his hand. "It's a little early for that. Been out all day, little bit to start in the morning, wee bit more at lunch, and then..." He laughed. Again, didn't bother finishing his sentence. Preparing myself, Ken, for news. He'd let this worry gnaw at him for a long time before he even came to me. A cancer suspicion that had eaten away until he could think of nothing else. I remembered the moment he lost his poise in my office. "My wife, I think she's cheating on me." Simple words, enough near to kill him. This morning I'd felt good, knowing that his fears were unfounded. Not often that I bring anyone good news. I waved the file in front of him. He waved back, dismissive in the way only a drunk can be. "Didn't need to read it," he said. "Not all, Bryson." "No what?" I wanted to shake him. He mouthed along for a moment with the country song on the stereo, then said, "Her cheating heart." I shook my head. "Mr. Williams, your wife loves you." During our fight, Roz had called me an emotional jackal, confirming people's worst fears. "When's the last time," she said, "that you made someone else's life better?" The proof was in my hands. Proof that my client had begged for. Proof that I now knew he had never expected. So, what was I expecting? A hug? Tears of joy? When you come to someone like me, you don't expect to be told that your suspicions are wrong. What do you want? You want confirmation. He shook his head, mumbled something incoherent. "I'm serious," I said. "It's all here. Her every move, her whole life, when she's with you and when she's away from you and when..." "Shut up!" He stood up, tried to take a swing at me, moved slowly, carried roughly by the momentum of rage. I stepped back. He fell onto the floor in front of me, rolled onto his side, tucked his knees up to his chest and started to sob. More to his reaction than drunken irrationality. And maybe I should have seen it earlier, but I hadn't been looking. Taking his nervous twitches, the way his eyes refused to meet mine, and the way he rubbed his hands harshly together to be signs of his concern rather than anything else. But seeing him here, in this state, I knew that there had been some deeper-seated cause to his malady, and I hadn't noticed, or else just ignored it. I walked to the stereo, turned off the country music. Now there were merely sobs, like there was a difference. I crouched beside him and said, "It's good news." "Nah," he said, sniffling like a child. "It's not good news, Bryson." He pushed his face down like he was trying to hide his face between his chest and his knees. Anger to sadness, all it takes is the flip of a switch inside your brain. He had told me during our initial consultation how much he loved his wife. His thick brow creasing with concern, heavy black eyebrows closing together, voice lowering to a whisper as he told me how much he loved her. "It's killing me," he said, "to even think that she would be with someone else." Alarm bells should have rung perhaps. He'd been in a bad way. I should have seen it, should have realised. He judged her already, found her wanting. As he cried, I reached out as though to touch him, but pulled back, as if afraid he would turn his head, snap at my fingers like some wild animal. "If your wife finds you like this," I said, "she's going to ask some strange questions." "Didn't get it, do you, Bryson?" he said. "She'd been here all the time." "Where?" "Upstairs. Bedroom." I stood up, hairs on my arms dance again, this time with an urgency that felt sharply electric. I walked out, leaving the files behind, but taking the whiskey glass. Upstairs. The master bedroom. Her body underneath the bed covers, like she was asleep. Except there was blood that had soaked through the white. He'd positioned her carefully, lovingly, gone to great lengths to make it look as though she'd simply slipped away in the night. Would have worked too, if the blood hadn't told a different story. Same with the shattered bedside lamp and the cracked mirror. Blood on the carpet, soaking into the thick cream fabric. He'd been sick when he came to see me. A paranoid, dark sickness that, unchecked as it was, had manifested itself in this contradictory scene of deep hatred and gentle adoration. I had to wonder, was there something more I could have done? Could I have prevented this terrible tragedy? I dialed the police from a mobile, told them who I was, where I was, every detail they asked for, hung up, then hung around. Waiting to hear the sirens, I dialed another number. Roz answered, sounding hesitant. I looked around the room, realised I didn't know what to say, but I had to say something, make some sense out of this, and I figured hearing her voice might help. Thank you very much. That was a short story from the collection The Death of Ronnie Sweets and Other Stories, which collects much of my early fiction, which centres around Sam Bryson, the narrator of that particular story. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's something a little different. I apologise for the stark background. That's a poster, by the way, above me of Bullet starring Steve McQueen. So thank you once again, and enjoy. Thank you. Goodbye.